Hello once again, it's Matthew here from Matthewnorthmusic. Thank you for watching my latest video. As you can see, I'm in the shed today, which means we're going to do some electronics work. And as ever, if you like the kind of videos I make, be it about electronics, music or something in between, then please think about subscribing to the channel. It really does help. And also, if you use social media and you like any of my videos, please share them, because every time a video gets shared, it really does help get the word out about what I do here. And if you like any of my music, then please feel free to follow me on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, any of those sites. And again, if there's a tune you like, please hit the share button. It really will be appreciated. Anyway, today we're going to work on a project which is something I acquired a couple of years ago, and I thought it'd be fun on this rather wet and drizzly winter's afternoon. What's it, winter's afternoon? It feels like winter. It's actually the middle of July. I thought it'd be interesting just to throw this project together. But while we're at it, I just thought I'd let you know about how my home's going on, because as I've mentioned in previous videos, I've had a lot of building work done here. And it's kind of finished now, and one of the last things I had to do was to remount my TV aerial and my satellite dish, and so I thought I'd just show you how I did that without actually drilling holes into the side of the flat. Now, if you have been following what's been happening here at North Towers, there's been a lot of building work going on here. As you can see, the outside of the flat has now all been fully re-rendered, and I'm really pleased with the finished result. I think it looks really good, and hopefully will keep out some of the damp issues that I've been having. But over here is my TV tower. Now, I didn't want to put my satellite dish back on the wall because it looks ugly, and there's no guarantee how long Sky and FreeSat's going to exist anyway. And I didn't want to damage the render by drilling into the wall. So what I've done is I've got one of these poles. Now this one's 3 foot and screws to the ground. And providing there's nothing blocking the satellite dish, you can always have a satellite dish mount lower down. It doesn't have to be mounted up high. And the same goes for the TV aerial. And this TV aerial is probably at least 30 years old, if not older. And even though the bracket that's holding it in place, I don't know if you can see it here, but it was very kind of rusted and corroded. But I sprayed it all with WD-40 and I managed to get it off, cleaned it up a bit more, and then reused the bracket. So now I have my all of it working. Now what I did was I put new cable on, which comes all the way around here, down here along the ground. And I'm probably just going to get a bit more mortar, and I'm just going to cement that in just so you can't see it really. And then I extended it down here. Now, to extend the cables, what I did was on the aerial cable, I soldered the core of the cable together, put some heat shrink around that joint. Then I soldered the outside, the earth if you like, the ground, and then I put heat shrink around all of that. As for the other one, the satellite cable, which I think you can probably see down here, where's the join? The join's here, look. And what I did with this is I used 2 F connectors and a barrel, and I joined it together, and then I put heat shrink all over it to keep the moisture out. So that's a good tip if you want to extend satellite cable. And for those who may be wondering, this is what the July 2024 photo is on my Ian Beale calendar. Anyhow, what we're going to look at is what is inside this little box. You know, it wasn't very expensive. I think I certainly paid less than £10 for it, which would be, you know, not a lot of money to spend really on something. And it turned up as it normally does in usual Chinese packaging. I think this one, I think I may have actually bought this from Wish, because I think I had it delivered to a local shop to get cheaper postage, although it was actually a bit of a pain to pick it up because they couldn't find it to start with. I just remembered that fact. Anyway, what do we have? Well, here we have a printed circuit board. And yeah, the circuit board is, you know, not very big. And oh dear, looks like we might have some surface mount components there, so that could be fun, having never done a surface mount before. We've got a display here, Panasonic, so obviously a play on words with Panasonic there, but it's interesting. It says FM TV, so obviously, you know, in some countries the TV is on the same frequencies as FM radio, and it goes down to 76. And what that was quite good in the old analog radio days is you could actually tune in on your transistor radio the soundtrack of TV. And I actually wish you could do that now, because sometimes there's TV programs on that you might be interested in. You might want to listen to them in the car. And if there was an option on, you know, digital radio or, you know, streaming sites like, you know, using an app like TuneIn Radio, that you could actually listen to the soundtrack of a TV program, you know, I think that'd be quite good. And certainly, you know, if you're into things like, you know, the soaps or whatever, you don't always need to see what's going on. Anyway, that's that. Now we've got our instructions here. Now they're all written in Chinese on one side, and yeah, we've basically just got a list of parts and with part numbers. So we've got a circuit diagram here as well. So if we look at the circuit diagram, the radio is basically based on a single chip. So I'm guessing that's going to be the chip that we solder in there. And then we've got some various discrete parts. We've got the tuner there, we've got some capacitors there. It's all part of the tuning circuit. We've got an amplifier circuit here. In fact, is there a slot for another IC on the other side? Yeah, 2022. So that's going to be 2822. So that's the amplifier circuit. So we've got some kind of integrated amplifier there that goes to the speaker and a jack socket. And we've got this circuit here, which I'm guessing is the, well, it says AM on there, so that's probably the AM tuning circuit. So the FM tuning circuit's probably on this chip here. The AM tuning circuit here is using that chip, and the amplifier's here. So it's, yeah, it's fairly simple. But the good thing is that the components are all listed by part number, and that's all written on the circuit board. And in fact, the circuit board has also got, I think, yeah, it's actually got the part values printed on the circuit board as well. So we don't really need any of this because we've got the circuit diagram and everything's printed on the board, which is great. Okay, here's our box then. Now, presumably, our thing here, yeah, this will actually stick on the box, so our tuning dial will be on there. Presumably there's a needle that you can see through here. I'm guessing that's see-through there, so that'll stick on there. But there's also a hole there, so maybe you need to screw the thing together using that screw hole first. I'm not sure, but that's the front. Got our little loudspeaker here, 8 ohm, half a watt. Not very big, but you know, it's probably do the job. It's probably going to be no worse than the speaker on a mobile telephone. In fact, if anything, it's probably going to be better. There's the back of our case. Again, we've got a removable panel here for the battery. If I can get it open, there we go. And it's hinged as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, so when it's done, our radio's going to be, you know, nice and compact. And you know, sometimes that's all you need with a radio. And we've actually got a little switch at the top there, our tuning dial there, and our volume control there. So that's all good and nice. Now, what do we have in here? Well, it's pretty obvious what we have in here. It's all our components. I don't know why I said that, really. I've been working early shifts this week, so I'm a little bit tired. I'm so tired I can't even get this packet open. Come on, let's get all this out. Need to be a bit careful because I don't want to damage anything in here. But yeah, we've got a bag of components. And what do we have? Well, we've got some sort of tuning capacitor there. That's probably, or is that our volume control? Not sure. No, I think that is the volume control actually. That's going to be our tuning cap here. We've got a jack socket for the headphones. We've got our, Well, this will actually go inside here. This is part of the, or in here, this is part of the battery holder. So I think actually that will just slot in. Yes, it can only go in one way, so I just put that in there now. Actually, it goes in the other way, doesn't it? So the first thing I do, I make a mistake already. Yeah, that goes in like this. So might need to push it down a bit more, but you get the idea. We've got a component here. I can't see what that is off the top of my head. I need to get my my electronics glasses. And it says it's a TA762. Let's have a look on the circuit and see what that is. Is it a voltage regulator or something? Is it a transistor? Let's look at the amplifier circuit. Is it there? No. Is it part of the AM receiver? No, I don't know what that's for. At the top of my head I can't see, but I'm sure it will become apparent as I put it together. But anyway, we've got that. We've then got a coil here. So this is the internal AM aerial. Our FM aerial is actually, I think it's fitted to the case. Is it fitted to the case? No, no. Here we go. It's separate. So that's our FM aerial there. We've got another inductor there. We've got the two battery terminals here. We've got a little bit of plastic here, which I think is going to be part of a switch or something. These are our two knobs. So actually, no, we've actually got two knobs here. So this one is for the volume control. So this pot here is actually a volume pot. And this one goes on here for our tuning. That sort of slots in, and there's a little groove in there that goes in, and then that gets screwed on. Then we've got this surface mount chip here, and I do actually have some surface mount stuff. I've got some paste and whatnot, and a hot air gun. Although I might just be able to solder it, I don't know yet. But that'll be the first thing I actually do, is soldering that on, because that's going to be a bit of a faff. And I don't know what this pad here is for. I think it probably is for something. Probably has to go in somewhere. It might be some sort of shield, I don't know. This is our this is like a dial of some description. So maybe this, does this turn with the, oh, it does, look. I get it. So this piece of plastic will fit in here, and you'll be able to see it there. And as you turn it, it will coil up. This sort of plastic here will sort of coil up, and it will go up and down. So it's not very elegant, but I think it's functional. So I don't know which way round that goes in, but that will be sandwiched in with the tuner. But that's something we do at the end. And we've got a little switch here. So this is our AM/FM switch. We've got a screw falling out here. I'm guessing that's one of the screws for the case. But it's got stuck inside that inductor coil, so I don't really want to be very careful with these things. And there's another inductor coil here. Then we've got a couple of bits of wire. And then we've got we've got two little bolts. So they're going to be the ones holding the plastic bits on top of the tuners, and I think this longer one is going to be for the RF tuner, so that's going to have the needle thing sandwiched in. We've got our little amplifier there, so that's going to be what amplifies our output. And then we've got a bunch of capacitors and resistors. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to solder in our chip onto the circuit board. So it's this chip here. Focusing on this is not going to be particularly easy, but I think you can probably see that here at the top is our little indentation, and that would correspond with the top of the chip, so it goes in like that. So what I need to do is to solder that in. Now I can possibly actually just do this with the iron, because it's not so small that you can't see. So what I need to do is I need to tack on the two corners, and then hopefully they'll stay in place, and then I can solder in all the other legs. That's what I'm going to try and do first anyway. So we've got our iron here, my trusty Antex, and I've got some of my vintage leaded solder, and we'll see if we can get this to stay in place. So I'll do this bottom leg first. And it is very I've already made a total pig's ear of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my desoldering tool, which is somewhere in my toolkit. I'm going to take that blob off, and then I'm going to try this another way. So if we take that out first. Oh, actually, I might not need to do that. No, I've already got it in place. So actually, that's actually now in, if you can see, I'll wait for the camera to refocus. Yeah, it's actually now in place, and it's actually in the right place. So if I now look at the other side, and I do the furthest corners, I should actually just be able to solder that in. I'm actually making a bit of a hash of this because it's not sticking in the right place. I mean, really what I should have done was put some surface mount solder paste on and then just use hot air, but I kind of didn't really want to do that. Anyway, just give me 5 minutes and hopefully this will be done. Okay, that didn't take too long, but that chip is now in place, and it's on the reverse side of the board, so don't think I need to solder anything else on that side at the moment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start putting in all the components that go on this board. Now, what's nice is things like the capacitors, they've just got the number on, so you know 104 is 100 nanofarad. And the resistors are all labelled out, so I'm going to put in all the resistors and all the capacitors. Well then, as you can see, the resistors are in the board. I should stop saying well as you can see, really, because it's obvious you can see. Anyway, they're all very, very small, and I will admit I did use my multimeter and I did measure them all before I put them in, because a couple of them, the markings had wiped off and they weren't very clear. And also, sometimes, you know, if you just want to double check things, there's no harm in just measuring them on the meter first. Also, you can just check that the components are in spec, and while a couple was slightly out, I don't think it's going to make a massive amount of difference. I also popped that transistor in here, that's obviously part of the tuning circuit here. I presume it is, but I just whacked it in just because it happened to be there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in all the capacitors, starting with all of these little ones, and then I'll pop the electrolytics in as well, and then we should have something that's looking a little bit more like a radio. Right, that took a little bit of time, but we've now got all our capacitors on the board, and some of them, again, they had the markings were missing, mostly on the 100 nanofarad capacitors, of which there are many. And interestingly, here, for example, the 3 capacitors are in parallel to give you 300 nanofarads, so I'm guessing as part of cost cutting, maybe, rather than having a single 300 nanofarad that might cost a fraction more to produce, they actually put 300 nanofarads in, which are cheaper. Because obviously I think 100 nanofarad is probably the most common capacitor made in this style, because they were always used for coupling capacitors on, you know, millions of circuits. But anyway, that's in place now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically solder in all the other bits and bobs. So I'm going to solder in the the coil, the tuning pots, etc., and the main chip, and the switch and the 2 inductors, and then we should have more or less finished circuit board. So let's see how we get on with that. Right, well, here's something I've noticed with this, and that's the tuner here. Now, the question is, which way round does it go? Because it's got 4 holes there, and there's 2 holes in the side. Now, if I put it in, say, this way, it fits, and you see the 4 screws on the bottom, but the text is upside down. So I'm going to guess that it's probably designed to go up this way. But it doesn't fit, because that metal tab this side here is actually bigger than the tab this side, so it is actually upside down. So it's one of these things you don't really want to force anything. So let me just get this in the right place there. So yeah, that actually has to go in upside down, and then it should be okay. Right, well, I'm guessing this actually goes inside here somehow, but it's got a little bit squashed. But if I push that in and slide that in, I think that's where this goes. Because you wouldn't normally have a coil without something else inside it. So that, I think, goes like that. And then there's a piece of plastic which I think is here. This piece of plastic slides in here. And then this core goes in, and then this is soldered to the underside of the board. So, and also the end was a bit scrunched, so I'm hoping that the wires are intact. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just put my meter across them and see if we get any DC continuity. And if we do, then we know there's no actual breaks in the wire. So pop that on there. And these will then go round the board and be soldered onto the underside. So we can get that onto there. Oh, this is a bit rubbish. Let me turn that around the other way so they're both on the ground. There we go. That goes on there. That goes on there. And yeah, we've got 6 ohms. So yeah, that does work okay. Our circuit board is now completely populated. Now, the 2 inductors here and here, it was very hard to distinguish the 2, but the picture on them, that one's physically bigger than this one, and this one does have a couple more turns than that one, so I'd literally guess that that's obviously how they're wired in. But everything else is now connected up. The only thing I've got to do is pop in the LED, which I'm going to do once I've got it towards the case, because I don't know if I have to make the LED longer or shorter. And also this sort of ferrite rod here, I may need to put something in just to make it stay in place, because it's a little bit loose. So I might just pop a little bit of card or something in there just for now. And then it's a case of connecting all the other bits together and seeing if this thing will work. Okay, first big mistake I've made, and it was not a massive mistake, but I'd put the aerial ferrite wires through this hole here to get connected here, but actually they need to go through this hole here, because this hole is part of the screw holes. Not a big problem, I've just got to desolder those wires and reroute them. Now that's in place, it's actually much better, and I've actually got the wires coming up the top and going down, because it's just got me easy and a bit better access. Now for the LED, I've just got it loose inside the board, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the circuit board in place inside the cabinet. We can call it a cabinet, it's a plastic box really. Which is easier said than done, but it's a little bit of a fiddle. But yeah, that's kind of in place. And then you hold it in to make sure that it's fitted in its slot, which you probably can't see that well, but it has done. So with that in place, then I can solder it in, and then it's all good to go. I did wonder with this if it was a bit like some of the sort of synthesizer projects and things that I've done in the past, where it's best to sort of slot in all the sockets, all the plugs and everything, and then get the board in place and then solder it in afterwards. But as it goes, I think it's probably okay. Now all that's in, we have to do the final bits and bobs, which is wiring in the speaker and wiring in the power connectors and the little wire for fitting the antenna as well. So I'm going to take this out, which sort of slides out like that. And the first thing I need to look at is how the antenna goes in, which I think is attached to the rear casing. So the casing's kind of like this. If we just slot that in together, and then our antenna, I think, is coming out the side. Is it out the side or is it out the top? Oh, it goes in here. Okay, so the antenna goes in there. And I think there may be a connector or something for it here. In fact, it's probably one of these. I'm not sure, actually. Not sure at all. As I said, we don't have a... I think it must. Yeah, that definitely goes in there. And then it screws in, but it must have a... And we've got these battery plate things here. We've actually got 3 of these, and bearing in mind there's 2 that are already in this case that go to the other end. I'm guessing this must fit in here, but no, it doesn't. I'm wondering if we're actually missing a part, because there should be, I think, we certainly shouldn't be having 2 extra battery positive ends on here. But that's what we seem to have. And because these... And we don't quite know, we sort of do know the polarity, because if I look in here, and, oh, that's interesting. So where was the thing that I slid in? Has that fallen out? Oh, it's over here. Okay. So if we pop this in where it's supposed to go, which is in like that, I'll push it in with these tweezers or something. Or does it go in the other way around? No, it does go in that way, and these little tabs then bend down as it goes in to keep it tight in place. Or does it go in the other way? Actually, it goes in the other way because it's got a flat bit at the bottom. Hang on. Or does this go in his side? No, it definitely doesn't, because it's got... Now this does go in as it's supposed to go in, like this. So, yeah, I don't know how far off camera you saw this then, but... Yeah, that definitely goes in. So let me get something like a pair of pliers and see if I can move that down a bit. That's better. Yeah, that's gone down a bit better. I'm just going to push a bit more pressure on it. But I'm trying not to damage anything here. Because this is quite thin plastic. Ow. But that's in now. That's how it should go. So that definitely goes in like that. And so when that's meeting up with this, we have our negative spring connector going in here. Let's push that in. Try not to break it. It's quite tough actually to get this in. Is that the right height? Oh, it probably is the right height actually, because there's a little part that stops it going any further. So yeah, those two are in there. So that's our supply. That's our plus and minus. And then when this is slotted together, I think then there's something not right here. Oh, I see. These have to bend. They have to bend over to fit. And then that will sort of slot in like that. So there you go. So that's our battery. That's how a battery compartment is supposed to be, like that. Bit of a faff. But what's a bigger faff is this aerial business, because we've got some screws here. We've got some little tiny ones here. We've got some bigger sort of tapered ones, which I think these are probably the ones for the circuit board going into the cabinet here. Then we've got these flat ones here. I think these are going to be for the volume pot and for the tuner. So that's the tuner one. And then we've got a couple of others. Now I think there's supposed to be, and we've got nothing left in the packet, I think there's supposed to be another part that goes in here for the antenna, that connects the antenna to the radio. There's definitely something missing, and because I mean the antenna sort of folds down like that, but this should be screwed in. Now I'm guessing this is screwed in with this screw here, because it looks about the right size. And then on the other side there would be something that would solder the antenna wire, which we don't have. So I might just need to put a blob of solder on and just solder this in somehow. But what I need to do first is just to screw this in. So I need a crosshead screwdriver, and then we just screw this in place. And that's not going in. Why is that not going in? Because it's not quite lined up. Now it is. There we go. So we've now got the antenna soldered, screwed in, but we haven't got anything for it to connect to. Now the only thing is there, I don't think it would use a battery, one of these battery connectors to hook it in. Now we've got two wires here that are the same colour, so I'm guessing they're going to be for the speaker. And then we've got a longer wire here, and I guess that's probably for power. And let's have a look at this. So our FM antenna is going to be, oh I see, so this actually, I think the circuit board actually goes in this way round. So it goes in there, and then now it sort of sandwiches in like that. So do we screw that in that way? No, we don't. We screw it in from the back. I see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is then I'm going to just hook up all the other wires, and then I'm going to try and work out how this this tuning thing goes in, which is kind of going to be like the last thing to do. But what we'll do first then is we'll get our speaker and our power wired in. So if this is in place, and our speaker will go in here like that, and then we need to hook it up, and that goes on two wires over to here. So the speaker probably needs to turn around, and yeah, we've got one pad there and one pad there, and then the wires probably go through that hole there down to the speaker. So let's get that wired in first. Well, our speaker wire is now connected in, and we've got our power wire connected. There's a plus power point on this pad here, and there's a pad there that just has a line under it, which I'm guessing is the negative rail. So that's our power, and but of course it's opposites on this, because the positive is here and the negative's here, so I think this needs to sort of crisscross over a bit, so it's going to be a bit like that, so that we get the right polarity. Now weirdly, there's actually a link here that's needed. There's two empty pads, and if I turn the board over, you can actually just see that there's a wire link is supposed to go between these 2 points. So I'm guessing they probably assume you used to use a cut-off bit of cable or something, but it's not actually long enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a bit of tinned copper wire, and I'm just going to make myself a little link, you know, just using some of this. Right, a bit of try and error has given me how this tuner knob works. So we turn the knob fully clockwise. Ooh, don't drop that. And then we place this on top of here, and that should fit into the slot, which it does. We then get this part here, and that slots in like that. And we then put the threaded screw, which is here. That will then go into the top. And it kind of sandwiches it all together. And so when this turns, I've got it the wrong way. I've got it the wrong way. It needs to be anti-clockwise, not fully clockwise. So take that off. And then we turn that around. So it's anti-clockwise now. Then this goes in place. And so when this is turned, it's very crude, but it just pulls this up in its slot, and it sort of goes up. I think you can't really see that because my hand's in the way. So I hope you can see it better there, and then it comes down like that. And that's how it basically works. Now, I think I know what one of these is actually for now. And I think it goes here to hold the speaker in place. So what we're going to do is now put all this back together in the case and see what happens. So it's going to be a bit of a fiddle, but hopefully it should all go into place. So our speaker is going to go in like this, and it's got a slot for the wires, but I think by that going in there, we then take one of these, and yeah, I think that is designed to hold the speaker in place. If I get one of the small little screws here, yep, that's going into the plastic. So this should, yeah, so that is definitely meant to hold the speaker in place. It's a little bit crude, but it does the job. And then what we need to do now is to gently put all these other bits in place. Now the two things we've got to do is we've got to get this piece of plastic for the tuner to go. You probably can't see it, but I'm going to try and use these tweezers here. If I zoom in a little bit, we want to get this piece of plastic to go into that little slot, so that comes out the other side, which I think it will do. I think because it is just cheap plastic, it's going to bend a little bit. So if I pull this round through here, these aren't the best tweezers to use. Actually, should use these maybe. Oh, there we go. Well, I think that's in. I think maybe if I just push it down with the board in, it should slide in somehow. There we go. It just needs a little bit of a push. And then if all the rest of this goes in, just take these wires out a second. Now the only thing I haven't done yet is, yeah, I think actually I need to bend these back up to get the board in, and then I'll bend them back down. I mean, they might even fit vertically actually. We shall see. So at the moment I've got that ferrite rod that's kind of jammed in, but it's kind of going in where it should do. Is that it in? The LED's in, yeah. Okay, so if I just turn this, yep, that's moving. So I think it's kind of all in place now. So what we need to do now is, there's probably a screw to hold, one of the screws to hold the board in, and the rest come through the case, because there's one spare screw here. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3 screws from the back. That's this one, and this one. There's a screw hole there, so I think that's where this little one goes. So if we pop the small screw in here, although saying that, does one of those, no they don't. So this goes onto that little post. Actually, it doesn't feel like it is going in. It might be that it's too thick to go in, which is a bit weird. Oh no, it is going in. So that's holding things in there. And all we need to do now is to think about wiring everything in. So it's weird how the plus supply is going over to here, and actually I think I've got that thing the wrong way around. It should be facing the other way. Because it needs to be the pointed end, so that should actually go in like that. Now I'm wondering actually if there's another bit of wire, and there's another bit here. So one of these, I think, and I'm wondering if this wire for the antenna, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here, but this wire is definitely not long enough, if that is the wire for the power. And this is the right length for the negative supply, so I'm just going to solder that in. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly look at the circuit diagram and make sure I've not cocked anything up with the power. Actually, I think it is correct, because if we look at the circuit, the on-off switch, which is here, that sort of turns the power on and off, it uses the ground as the off, so the ground comes in here and goes into the switch, so that's correct, and that says plus, so this is correct. That wire is just not long enough, so I'm going to put a new piece of wire in that's a bit longer. Now the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed I've made another mistake, and that's to do with the speaker, and that is I've run the speaker wires through this hole, which is where the another screw's supposed to go. I think ideally it probably should have gone through this hole here, so it doesn't matter. All I've got to do is just desolder these and reroute it, although I might just bring it around the side if the case will fit. But looking at the casing, yeah, it probably will just squeeze in there instead. But a little bit of an annoyance. Now the last thing is this antenna. Now I've taken the antenna out. Now I think there was probably one of those little metal things that's like a washer with a tag on it that would have gone in here in between where the aerial bolts in and it's the bolt. So what I'm going to do is this. I've got a piece of wire that I'm going to put around the bolt, if I can get it in, that is. I need to bend it a little bit. There we go. So I can actually wrap it around the whole thing and squeeze it together. Yeah. And then what I'll do is I shall pop the aerial on top, and then I will then screw that together. Right, there we go. We've got our antenna now fixed in. So all I need to do is to solder that to the PCB, and then I think we're ready for a test. Although I must admit, I'm a little bit apprehensive about it all. I've actually noticed something else now. This screw I put in here to hold the speaker in, that's actually supposed to be a longer screw that's coming from here. So that's annoying. So I might need to take that out and put it in, or it might even be the same screw and that just goes in, and maybe it doesn't get it doesn't have that fixing in after all. Actually, I think that's probably what it is. So if I screw this together, the speaker might be held in by the battery compartment. I think it does, and that's why there's that little recess in there. So yeah, I'm going to solder in the antenna first, which goes to this point here, which you can't see, but yeah, it goes into here. Then it's a case of sandwiching all this together, which is easier said than done. I think this has to go in this end first, because we've got our little jack socket. And then if nothing fouls, it should all go together. But something is fouling and I can't see what it is. Oh, it's that spring. It's the spring of the battery compartment, so I might need to just lift that spring up first. So over there we go. Then we slide this across to hopefully get it all in place. Pull that up. Pull that through. Well, it doesn't feel entirely smooth, but it's kind of in place. So I'm going to put the screws in and just get this thing back together. So the first screw I need to put in is this little one under here that's actually, I can't help wondering, but I think actually the power thing I have put in back to front, but I'm not sure. Don't think I have actually. No, I can't have done. No, it just feels it's not that well constructed. And whereas if you were to have bought this, you know, ready-made, you would expect it to be a bit more, you know, a bit more well made. But this is actually, you know, it's very cheap in its construction. But yeah, that small screw definitely goes in there. So this one goes in here. Although why that's not, has that gone in? No, it hasn't. Why has that not gone in? Weirdly, has the circuit board's not quite in place, that's why. Now it can go in. So you have to apply a gentle force to get everything to slot in on this little radio. But you know, it's all like a learning curve really. Let's get this last screw in. In. Okay, so there we have it. That's our radio constructed. The only thing I haven't done is put on our little front panel. So let's pop that in. Now, let's stick some batteries in and see if it works. Now, have I got any batteries that fit? That is the question. I think I've got some indoors, so I'm just going to go and grab some batteries. Now actually, the circuit board actually still isn't quite in place because the volume control's not quite meeting true, so the circuit board's slightly twisted inside. I'll tidy that up in a minute, but let's just put the batteries in and see if we get any noise out of this thing. And oh, the only other thing I didn't do is I didn't put the switch cap on. So we go to AM first and let's turn the volume up a bit. And absolutely nothing. Let's go to FM. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing coming out the speaker at all. So I'm going to take this apart now and see why it's not working. Right, well, my simple error is here. Where it says SP, it means to go here where the round thing is, where there's an extra little hole there, not onto this part of the jack socket, which I think is just the earth sleeving. So if that goes to there instead, then we might get some signal. I've got it back together now, and the case really is the snag with this, and the board doesn't quite fit flush, so again it's a bit of a pain trying to get to the volume control. Now the switch on the top, this switch cap actually just slots in from the top, it doesn't slot in, but it's still not quite where it should be. But anyway, I think it's now wired up correctly, so let's turn it on. If I can get the switch to... Right, we've got some hiss. That's a good thing, so we get any tune. We're not getting a lot on FM, let's try AM. Oh, we can certainly get something there. So yeah, we are getting sound out of it on medium wave. It's not very good. The speaker sounds a bit rattly. But as an AM radio, it's definitely working. But then I'm guessing the reception's not going to be great in here either. Let's go back to FM again. We're not getting a fat lot. Yeah, it's certainly not great. I'm just going to take the case apart actually and just see if... oh, that's interesting. By taking that scratch, stop making that horrible noise. I wonder if I was pushing something against something. Let's just try. No, it's not sounding good at all on FM. I'm going to have a little poke around and see. I mean, it's working, I think, as it's supposed to be, as much as it can be. But yeah, I mean, having that speaker loose like that isn't great. And yeah, it's just all sounding a bit rubbish. I'm actually going to hook this up to my bench power supply, so that we've got... I don't need to have the batteries in, so if I go to here and I get myself 3 volts, there's 3 volts. And then we stick our positive here and our negative here. I mean, I'm wondering if it's just local interference. It does sound like it's picking something up. I don't know if it's either RF or whatnot, or whatever. Well then, I'm suspicious that this variable capacitor for the tuning is actually upside down, and maybe I got it the wrong way up, because normally you wouldn't have a component on a circuit board upside down. You would have it the correct way up with the text the right way up. So I'm going to take this out and I'm going to see if it will go in the other way, and if it does, then I mean, weirdly it's kind of, you know, the slot the other side is small, but then maybe it's just so weird, this thing. Like I say, it will tune in on AM, albeit not very well. I mean, the only other thing is, does this thing need to have the 4 little screws in here to line it up? But then you kind of wouldn't really expect that on a little basic kit like this. You would kind of expect it to be good to go. Oh, let me just unsolder that one, I missed out. Fortunately, all of those solder links actually came out okay, so this should just pull off. Maybe not. No, nothing's ever that simple. Oh, actually it is. So yeah, if I take this out and I spin this round the other way, can I get this to go in? I can certainly get it going that way. Not quite. But could it be that it's just that? I'm just going to solder it in, and I'm going to power it up and see if we get any proper noise out of it. And if we do, then we'll sort the rest out afterwards. And it might explain why the actual controller isn't quite reaching where it should as well. That's a rubbish bit of soldering. Let's try and do that properly. Okay, that's in. I'm going to try it first with the power from the power supply, I think, just to see what happens. Let's get our negative there, our positive there, and just turn this and see if it does anything. No, nothing. So it probably was correct the first time, so I'll pop that back as it was. But it is really odd how, I mean, there's nothing really shorting I can see. I wonder if that link wire that I put in maybe shouldn't have gone in. Let's go look at the circuit diagram. Where was it? It was there. Look at that 100. Doing it from the back. No, the link wire is definitely there. And actually, the it's two separate radios in one, because the it's working as two different tuners. So it's a 4-pin variable cap, but it's actually two variable caps in one. One does the FM tuner, one does the AM tuner, and the FM tuner's not working. So, right, I'm going to try one more thing, I think, first. This is interesting. I've actually swapped the power around because it's obvious that that must go through there, and it slides through that gap to get there. And I've swapped this side round, and actually the whole case is now snapping together much better. Now, it could also be because I haven't got the marker in at the moment, but I just want to so on FM, well, you know it, I'm getting signal now. Not very good, but I'll go outside in a minute. But there is something there. There we go. So the reception isn't great in here, but it's working. And I think I had that variable capacitor the wrong way around. And what it was, I swapped the two inductors around because I think the inductors had something to do with it. Yeah, we kind of got something now. Although it seems to have stopped again now. There we go, got something there. So I'm going to have another little poke around, see if there's any way I can improve it. Well, as you can hear, it is working, and if I turn the tuner, I can kind of get other stations. I'm getting a little bit of interference from these lights in the workshop. If I turn them off a bit, it might sound a bit better, but that's not great. But yeah, it does kind of work. I fiddled around with the tuning circuit on the back of the tuner to see if I could tweak it, make it any better. I couldn't really, but it works, sort of. Would I recommend this as a kit? Not really. It's a bit rubbish, if I'm perfectly honest, but it was cheap. It was, I think this was less than a £5, and they're selling these on AliExpress for about £3.50. So if you want to get one and have a go and see if you can make it any better, feel free. But to me, it just sort of works, but it's not very good. But, you know, it was a bit of fun. I spent way too long fiddling around with this, trying to make it better. And I think I just wasted my time, to be perfectly honest. So this is one of these videos, it's kind of, I've done this so you don't have to kind of film. And really, this is a piece of rubbish. But, you know, I can still listen to the radio on it, so I might just leave it somewhere if I need a radio. But otherwise, don't bother. It's a bit crap. And thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed this, and catch you on the next one.